What's going on with the fam? What's up, y'all? What's up? What's up? It's your boy G Consciousness in the building. What y'all got going on in here? What's up? Yeah. What's up? What is this about? All of these different things going on. What's up? What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? Let's see. They got all types of stuff going on. What's up, y'all? Just here playing around, trying to see what's going on with this, y'all. Yeah, Miss Holly, what's going on with you? I'm just testing some stuff, messing around with this thing a little bit, playing around with it. What's this? Yeah, we gonna do some more commentary on that, on Sicarii now. We just sitting back, relaxing a little bit. Yeah, just messing around a little bit. But we definitely gonna do some commentary on them brothers. You know what I'm saying? Uh, I'm just playing with this thing a little bit though. What up, Ishay? How you doing, brother? Oh man, I'm tired, y'all. I am tired. Tomorrow is the weekday though. Yeah, but we gonna definitely do some commentary on these brothers. And you know, but yeah, so yeah, that looks screwy. They look screwy. I definitely check them out, Ishai. Yep, but so I was tripping off of how. I'm gonna have to really check that out. I was tripping off. I was tripping off how. Cool, cool. Yeah, appreciate it. I was just kind of getting off. Who will be say what's going on with you? I was getting off into a little bit of that Romans 9 a little bit today, and you know, and also that Galatians 3 and 8, and it's just crazy how I got like these clips of the gorilla Hebrew kind of like catching himself up a little bit, like it's just it's amazing, man, that this brother contradicts himself like he does, and you know the brother Deacon Akai, he tries to save him sometimes, but he couldn't save him this time. These brothers done got their captain crunched. But yeah, man, I can't wait till this weekend so I can get some of this footage together and show y'all some things. and show y'all how these brothers be speaking with a double uh, forked tongue, with a forked tongue. I'm gonna have to put it when I get on when I get on my regular tablet. I'll have to put it in the chat room, but it said the Solar Vision Debate League. You could type that in, Solar Vision Debate League, and it's Guerrilla Hebrew versus G Consciousness. And it's hilarious, man. Like, the brother made so many mistakes, it's ridiculous. Like, it just don't get good fun. But you know what? I wanted to bring something out, though. I wanted to bring something out. Let's bring something out real quick. Because because I couldn't bring everything out during my debate. Because it was just so much going on. But I want to show you something in Romans chapter, let's look at this, chapter 10. Now, if you look at this, right? Oh, and I had some interactions with GMS today. Them boys don't want no part of me. Like, them boys, like, they can't even answer simple questions. You know, they be ducking and dodging and running, you know what I'm saying? They don't want no part. But, Romans chapter 10, right? This is crazy, yo. Matter of fact, let's jump back to I'm gonna say 4. Now we had this me and Deacon, we had this thing going concerning Romans chapter 4 and 1, where it says, "What shall we say then? That Abraham our father, as pertaining to the flesh, have found." So he says our father. And so when he gets to the our father, Deacon says, well, that's talking about, you know, he's got to be talking to Israelite foreigners, or he has to be talking to Israelites and in general, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, that our father is pertaining to, well, you know, when he says, what shall we say then? That Abraham our father, as pertaining to the flesh, have found. And this is really in regards to the circumcision. Our father, as pertaining to the circumcision, have found, because this is really what the topic is about. When you look at it, it says, for what saith the scripture? Well, verse 2, for if Abraham was justified by works, he hath wherefore to glory, but not before God. For what said the scripture? So basically, you know, the conversation is really being justified by the law. Those who seek to be justified by the law, as opposed to those who are justified by faith. And so he starts talking about the circumcision of the flesh. And so he asks a question, was Abraham justified before he was circumcised in the flesh? Or was he justified when he was circumcised in the flesh? He was justified before he was circumcised in the flesh. And he received the circumcision as a sign or as a token, because of the righteousness that we see before. So this is why he says, what have Abraham found, our father, or pertaining to the flesh? So everything that is talking about pertaining to the flesh is really dealing with circumcision. But when it says our father, that's the part what I really want to address. Because he says in verse 10, he says, how was it then reckoned when he was in circumcision or in uncircumcision? Not in circumcision, but in uncircumcision. And he received the sign of circumcision as a seal of righteousness of the faith which he had, yet being uncircumcised, that he might be the father. Look at this, what it says. Look at this, lo and behold. That he might be the father of... I'm sorry, hold on. What verse was that? That he might be the father of all them that believe. though they be not circumcised, that righteousness might be imputed unto them also. So we see that the reason why he's using the word us in the first place is because Paul recognized the Gentiles, which are non-Israelites, that are of faith, as being the seed of the promise, or being the promise, the promised seed. And so, he says that he might be the father of the circumcision, right? It says, verse 13, for the promise that he should be the heir of the world was not to Abraham or to his seed through the law, but through the righteousness of faith. For if they which are of the law be heirs, faith is made void, and the promise made of none effect. Because the law worketh wrath, for where there is no law, there is no transgression. Therefore it is of faith, that it might be by grace, to the end of the promise might be sure to all the seed, not to that only which is of the law, but to that also which is of the faith of Abraham, who is the father of us all. So he's saying he is the father of us all, Abraham. So when we see Abraham as the father, as we see of those that believe, that are uncircumcised, as well as the father of those that are circumcised that believe just as well. And so we see clearly that this author recognizes those who are of Abraham that believe, and those who are not of the seed, but is joint to Abraham through the faith in Jesus Christ, is Abraham is their father. So I think that's pretty clear. You know what I'm saying? And so, it's kind of telling you right off the back on what's really going on here. Now, what's interesting is in Romans chapter 9, right? In Romans chapter 9, it says, verse 26, it says, and it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there they shall be called the children of the living God. And that's in Hosea. And so he goes on to reference back to Isaiah in verse 27, he says, Isaiah also cried unto concerning Israel, though the number of the children of Israel be as the sand of the sea, a remnant shall be saved. So this is talking about all of Israel. For he will finish the work and cut it short in righteousness, because a short work will the Lord make upon the earth. Then Paul goes and references another scripture. And as Isaiah said before, except the Lord of Sabaoth have left us a seed, we had been as Sodom and been made like unto Gomorrah. So then verse 30, he says, what should we say then? That the Gentiles, which follow not after righteousness, have attained to righteousness, even the righteousness which is of faith. But Israel. So now we see that this has to be talking about non-Israelites, due to the fact of, we see that clearly that there's a distinction between Gentiles here, which is verse 30, and also 31, but Israel, which followed not after the law of which followed after the law of righteousness, have not attained to the law of righteousness. Wherefore, because they sought it not by faith, but as it were by the works of the law. Now look what it says. This is how we know there's a distinction between these Gentiles, which are not Israelites, and all of Israel. Because look what happened to all Israel when you read the text. It says, for they stumbled at that stumbling stone. Who stumbled at that stumbling stone? Well, just go back in the Old Testament and see who stumbled at that stumbling stone. Both houses did. So therefore, the Gentiles, right, which believed, right, when the word came, they believed and they was accepted. And also the Israelites, those who were the first fruits that believed, they were accepted. But look what it says. It says, but Israel, which followed after the law of righteousness, have not obtained to the law of righteousness. Wherefore, because they sought it not by faith, but as it were by the works of the law. For they stumbled at that stumbling stone. Look what Paul says. As it was written. So where was it written at? Behold, I lay in Zion a stumbling stone, a rock of offense, and whosoever believeth on him shall not be ashamed. So we have to see, where was this actually written at? This was written in the Old Testament. West Dallas Savage, what's going on, brother? This was written in the Old Testament, and guess who it was talking about? Both houses. So therefore, the Gentiles that's being talked about here are non-Israelites. And we see that the non-Israelites, they sought it by faith, whereas Israel sought it not by faith and by the law, workings of the law of Moses. And we see that a stumbling block was put before them, and that stumbling block was Christ, and that stumbling block was before both houses. Because when we look at, let's go to where the Old Testament scripture is at. So it's a lot of stuff that these brothers just don't know. And, you know, they scared, they running, ducking and hiding from brothers, you know what I'm saying? And we got to give brothers that work, because they just don't understand what's going on. Alright, so you find that in that will be found in, I believe, Isaiah 8 and 14. So let's jump up. It says, and he shall be for a sanctuary, but for a stone of stumbling, and for a rock of offense to both the houses of Israel, for a gin and for a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And many among them shall fall and stumble, and shall be broken, and shall be snared, and shall be taken. Bind up the testimony, seal up the law among my disciples. So we see that this has to be in reference to all of Israel, both houses. Well, who was the Gentiles that sought it by faith? Non-Israelites. So we see that Paul is talking about non-Israelites. He's talking to non-Israelites about his brethren, which are Israelites, according to Romans chapter 9. So that kind of sums it up right there, you know, clearly of what's going on here, you know, and so we can see that in Galatians chapter 3 and 10, look what it says. It says, Christ hath redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us, for it is written, curses everyone that hangeth on a tree, that the blessings of Abraham might come on the Gentiles through Jesus Christ, that we might receive the promise of the Spirit through faith. Now, so he's telling them, he's telling those who are non-Israelites and those who are Jews, that Christ has redeemed Israel from the curse of the law to those that believe. And so among the Galatians were these Judaizers who was trying to get the non-Israelites to go back up under the law again, according to what we see also in Acts chapter 15, when he says there was certain Pharisees that believed, that came among the believers and said, except ye be circumcised and believe on the law of Moses, you cannot be saved. And so Paul addresses that, you know, and in Galatians, and also it's addressed. What's up, Beatrice? And also it's addressed in Acts chapter 15, that these guys was subverting the souls of the non-Israelites, trying to have some type of glory in the flesh, and getting these guys trying to get non-Israelites circumcised. And Paul is teaching the Gentiles, you're not justified by the law, but you're justified through faith. And when it comes to the gospel, which is the New Testament. And so when you look at it, overall, these guys are trying to bring Israel back. I mean, trying to bring the Israelites, I mean the non-Israelites up under the law, and trying to glory in their flesh and getting them circumcised. And so Paul is giving the Galatians a good old whooping, telling them, how they turned back so fast. Because remember, these people was proselytes at first among the Jews. And so when they heard the gospel, a lot of these guys heard the gospel, they wanted to, they hearkened into it. They believed it. Whereas the Jews, they left up out of the synagogues and didn't want to hear nothing about it. And the Gentiles begged and said, hey, look, we want to hear some more of this. And they received it. And so then after they heard it, then we have these Judaizers that seeing that a lot of conversion is going on with the proselytes and the Gentiles. And so they want to turn these guys back to the law. So that's the whole thing. But I wanted to bring some of those things out just real quick. I'm on this phone, so I ain't gonna be here, that long. Grace and peace to y'all. Make sure y'all click and subscribe. I know it's pretty late, but we'll do this again another time. Peace.